Welcome everyone to this weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for May 27th through the 29th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so we are entering into the third quarter phase of the lunar cycle, which is about taking a lot of the awareness, a lot of the insights that have been coming to us over the past week with the last full moon and that Mercury direct. So it's a good time of challenging ourselves, of putting things into motion. And this doesn't necessarily mean on a productive level, although it certainly could. It's more of in our personal lives. You know, being willing to challenge ourselves, maybe in our relationships, maybe with family life, maybe with work, these kinds of things. And develop ourselves spiritually and physically through our personal development. So that's what the square represents, and I think it's a good weekend for that. And I think particularly on Friday, more of the productive maybe, or emotional reserve, more of the discipline. The moon will be in Capricorn on Friday, so there's a lot of this, emotional mastery, this space that is in between us and our feelings, which does make it good for productive things. So we have that detached perspective. But anything else that does require discipline, does require that patience, and that mature and grounded approach to life, and really building things for the long term. Now that has already been the case because Jupiter has been squaring up to Saturn, and that went exact last Thursday. So especially on Friday, there is a lot of this energy still very much in orb. And this is about the slow and steady growth in our life. Still seeing what's possible. Jupiter is direct in Leo in terms of what gives us joy, what gives us passion. But here's Saturn squaring up to that, making sure it's done disciplined, patient, responsible, that we're taking care of our responsibilities, that we're taking this long-term approach to all of this, really tapping into that discipline. So I think that's going to be a good day for anything involving that more Saturnian approach, that more grounded approach to things, particularly in terms of the future, especially because the moon will be sextiling up to Saturn on Friday. And when it comes to the communication, with the moon squaring up to Mercury, it's good to bring the extra attention here, I think, today. Extra attention on the mind. Extra attention in terms of what we're thinking, and perhaps in terms of our independence, because we've learned a lot about our independence with Mercury direct and that whole retrograde of Aries. So this has been about now applying this directness, this independence in our communications, in our daily sphere, and in that tactful and balanced way. I feel like on Friday will be particularly important, and maybe getting our bodies moving, getting some energy, in the routine, that kind of thing. That's what Aries symbolizes. So that's Friday, and then as we shift into Saturday, the moon is going to go into Aquarius about midday. So this is the shift where the first half, I think, will still be a bit on that emotional reserve state. But then as the day unfolds, more of this free-spiritedness. This is where we come into really accessing who we truly are. And that free-spirited, which is about giving and contributing, being a part of things larger than ourselves, which is what our true self really wants to do. Real satisfaction, real value comes from giving in our life and sharing who we are. So anything that's about mixing things up, especially because the moon will be sextiling up to Uranus on Saturday, trying new things, tapping into that freedom of self, freedom of maybe mixing up the routine, individuality, that kind of stuff. It is just an opening for that with the sextile. Then as the day unfolds, the moon does square up to Mars, so extra attention on, again, the independence, on the self, on the ego, right, on the drives. And with Mars retrograde in Libra, we're learning more about how to have a bit of tact, a bit of mutuality and harmony in our life, which is what Libra is all about. So it's certainly about cultivating that and seeing where we can take action and be independent, but in a mutual way, in a harmonic way. And I think that's a good energy to work with, especially with all that free-spirited energy in the second half. Now, as we go into Sunday, we do have Mercury starting to trine up to Pluto going into next week. So this is where our minds have been very deep lately. There's this good ability to dive deep with matters. And again, this could be productive. It could be with reading, writing, sharing, communicating. All right, and this has been this grand trine with Mercury, Jupiter, and Pluto. So now going into next week, particularly on the Pluto side, which makes it great for self-examination and any type of research, any type of deep diving to really understand things. right? Especially now with Mercury direct, it can really move that energy forward. Now, on Sunday, the moon is going to conjoin up to Neptune, making it a very sensitive day. I think it's a very good day for spiritual activity. Again, that personal development, too, with the moon squaring up to the sun in this third quarter phase. So the important thing here is that Neptune's been opposing up to Jupiter and squaring up to Saturn in that T-square. So this has been perhaps the uncertainty in all of this. But I feel like today on Sunday, there's this good energy of really diving deep within the spiritual self. Really having that presence, that acceptance. Maybe working on our, again, meditation or spiritual disciplines can be excellent with this. And still seeing what's possible, because this is the Saturn square Jupiter energy, seeing what's possible, but taking it nice and slow, grounding things. Again, that development. So that's the weekend. One thing too, Sunday is going to be very Aquarian in nature too. So accessing our true self in this third quarter phase, but yet integrating it with what really matters in life, with this openness and intimacy that we've been developing since this last full moon, right on the cusp between Scorpio and Libra. Now, the Libra side of it is cultivating, again, that tact, the mutuality, the harmony in our life, but in a way without sacrificing who we truly are, right? So that's the square energy. That's how we can work with this and integrate that. All right, so that's the weekend. On Friday, again, that Capricorn energy certainly cultivated, taking things nice and slow. That emotional reserve can really go a long ways on Friday. Then as the moon shifts into Aquarius on Saturday, a bit more of that free-spiritedness, right? And really accessing that individuality and unorthodoxy, trying something new maybe, mixing things up. Then on Sunday, with the same sort of energy of freedom emphasized, good for diving deep, research, learning, reading, writing, communicating in that very deep and profound way, especially if we're willing to dive deep. And that third quarter phase of integration, spiritual development, being receptive, listening to our inner guidance, maybe through meditation, through anything that puts us into a meditative state, and working on that in our lives. All right, so I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on Monday.